Hello, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Our content relevant.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to week 2 of our survival school series. I'm glad to see everyone this afternoon. So today is an interesting day. One of my favorite days. They're all my favorites, but just in like special ways, I guess. Today is about mental health and advocacy. And we're going to have some really amazing speakers and presenters today. Our own Raia with SDA, who is head of Mad Mob, the Mental Health Advocacy Group, and Bay Area Community Services with mental health specialist Roy Bettencourt. And then Kat Brooks, activist organizer with MH First and Anti-Police Terror Project, is coming to speak.
Hey everyone, nice to see you all. Hi Cora. Hi, Andrea.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hi, Heidi,
Hi.
Florencia, and Ray.
Hello.
Monique.
Hi.
So I wanted to, has everyone put their name in the chat if you're able, or just speak your name out loud? I believe I have everybody except for,
Hello, hello, this is
hello, Monique.
My name.
CTRC. I don't think I've
Oh.
met you yet.
That's Andrea.
Andrea, hi.
Can I rename
hi.
you, Andrea?
Hello.
Okay,
Box.
Okay, cool.
yay, thank you. Okay, let me see, we have just a few announcements. Did everyone get the email for the Know Your Rights training happening tomorrow? With Causa Justa Just Cause? I sent it out Friday. Give
Someone
me,
called me, said yesterday or the day before. And I also
oh,
got,
good, okay, awesome.
oh yeah, I'm a part of their group.
Okay, Rhea, did you have something that you wanted to?
Oh, announcement?
Yes,
Not at this moment. Maybe, I don't know if we want to wait for a couple more people to join, and then perhaps Heidi or Florencia could announce the interpretation.
okay, wonderful. So we're gonna wait just a couple more minutes for people to join. It's only 3 after. So how's
Rhea,
everybody doing this week?
could you assign Heidi now, and then I will stay unassigned while I make the interpretation announcement?
Sure. Regina, could you make me a co-host or host to do
I
that?
did.
Okay. Actually, I think I need to be the host to do that, to do the interpretation.
Oh. Okay. So I'm not quite sure.
If you go to my name and
Go
then
to your
click the
name.
button where it says more
Yes,
in the participants list, then it should
Okay.
have an option of make host.
make host. There you go.
All right, thanks. And then I'll set up the interpretation.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Is that good? Okay. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you for the outreach that you've been doing for the survival school as well. Much appreciated. So we're officially in spring right now, and some of the sheltering in place, like restrictions, have been listed. Does anybody want to share? We can go around, you can just popcorn. Anything that you've been able to do that you haven't been able to do over the last year, like maybe go take a walk in the sunshine, or I don't know, do some gardening, buy a plant, maybe go see someone that you haven't been able to see, or meet someone outside that you haven't seen for a while. Does anybody have any new updates, any spring updates?
Here.
I don't have any spring updates. I just was listening to the news and things. What's happening in our world is very depressing. And I just try to keep my mind occupied through reading and prayer and Zoom and just taking it easy. And maybe I'll be able to accept the spring and get out, but presently, no.
Okay. Okay, well, that's a good plan. Sounds like you got some good coping strategies in place, which is really important. It's what today is all about as well. Anybody else would like to share? I'll share. I open my windows a little bit more. I keep my windows open probably about, I don't know, an hour, hour and a half every day and get some fresh air inside my apartment. That's different for me.
Mhm.
Get some fresh air, some
Me
spring
too.
air.
Me too.
You know, my neighbors, like one house over, had a gathering in the backyard. It was like a 2-day gathering, and
Mhm.
people were out on the patio, and they were socializing and eating and drinking. It wasn't raucous, you know, it was like a family type celebration, but you could hear it very audibly through my window. And you know what? I wasn't even annoyed. It just made me feel good that people were able to gather again.
Yeah. Mhm.
Would anybody else like to share?
Well, I walked some of the lake yesterday. Not a great deal of it, but some. It was nice.
Good. That's good.
That's wonderful. What part of the lake?
Down Grand.
Yeah. Over by the pillars, the little gazebo and stuff.
Over, nothing there. Well, I started from Harrison and walked down towards that way.
Nice, nice. That's one of my favorite parts too.
Actually, I decided to go to the Whole Foods and figured, hey, I might as well walk from here down that far.
Yes.
The people walking around.
Mhm.
It's actually nice.
Yeah, it is really nice. I'm glad you got to get out and have a wonderful walk.
Yeah, I was actually hoping to see kids going in and out of Fairyland, but there wasn't anyone in that area. Not many people in that area.
Maybe because, yeah,
Mhm.
I guess it still have to build up a momentum of being able to get out and do things again. Because sometimes it's like, oh, I don't know, is that open? Is, you know,
Yeah.
we don't quite know. So hopefully as the weather gets warmer, it'll be more evident. People will start going to outdoor attractions again.
Yeah.
It's good to see the kids going back to school.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, a couple days a week now.
Two.
That's good. Can I ask who is on phone 510-725-8260? Welcome.
Yes, hi. Yes, thank you. Hi, this is Henrietta
Hi.
Hanson.
Hi, Henrietta.
Hi.
I'm glad
Hi.
you could make it.
Yeah, well, thanks for inviting me. I'm glad to be here.
Wonderful. So glad you could make it. So today is about mental health and mental health advocacy. So
Mhm.
it's like, let's talk about this. Let's get into this conversation about, I believe we already started it off. And Cora, thank you very much for sharing what your challenges have been and your coping strategies as well. And we're talking about how this pandemic has affected our mental health and our peace of mind. We know that the pandemic has created social isolation. There's the digital divide, not everybody having access to devices. And if we do, not being sure about, you know, how to use them. I know that's a huge learning curve for me. The time it takes to access services, the gap in services, the closing of senior centers and libraries, all that has affected us. And
Yes.
it's been a lot to keep, and it's been a lot to keep track of, you know? So I know for me that, you know, it's been kind of stressful in some ways, like finding out what services are available and then the new ways how to access them. Has anybody encountered that in their last year as well?
Put my earpiece on here.
Sure.
Well, to me, it's the frustrating part has been because I lived in California. I moved to California in 1973, and so I lived here for over 40 years. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can hear you fine.
Okay. Okay. And so and then I went through a lot of moving. You know, I left and moved to the Midwest with my daughter to be a support network for her, and it's a big roundabout kind of a. So when I moved in, I think 2003, and ever since then I felt like I've lived the life of a vagabond because you know, moving with my daughter and her family and her husband, that turned out to be kind of disastrous, and so anyway, when I came back. But anyway, that move kind of just put me on the move. And I'm not the kind of person who would do a lot of moving. I mean, I could be places for 18 years, 19 years. I just, so anyway, what bothers me, and so I moved back here in 2 years ago. And I moved to Southern California with a friend. And that also turned out to be disastrous. And that's just kind of flipped my life upside down. All these moves have just kind of made me become more and more, I don't want to say depressed, but it just made me feel like I've lost more and more of my life in terms of the things that were valuable to me. A lot of them I don't have anymore. And so last year, you know, when COVID hit, the thing that's the most challenging for me is, first of all, is still living with someone and not feeling stable and all that. But also when I go to Berkeley, because I live in Oakland now, I feel just a great deal of loss. I mean, all this movement has made me feel like I've just lost a lot. But when I go to Berkeley, because that's where I lived for over 40 years almost, in Berkeley. And it was another kind of energy that was, you know, existed in Berkeley during that time. And I'm not saying Berkeley Berkeley had a lot of politics going on, a lot of disenfranchisement in the schools and all that. And I was, you know, I had children in the schools during those 40 years, so I was very much involved. But anyway, going to Berkeley now, and I see the gentrification, and I see the helplessness and the homelessness amongst people. It's like the energy. So I get depressed when I go to Berkeley. When I go to Berkeley, I just see how people, you know, people just are feeling homeless. I'm helpless. And the encampments around the marina, and so that's what the pandemic has done to me, is made me feel how it's just taking away people's connections that they used to have. There was a certain amount of connection. I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Am I talking too long here?
No, that was really good. Thank you for that. I just want to say I acknowledge what you are witnessing and experiencing about communities and families being pushed out and pushed apart. And so I'm glad that you're able to attend this survival school series, and perhaps there's some resources and some tools that you can walk away with, and you know, that can ease some of that for you, and hopefully we can become a part of your like political community, you know, and
Well,
ease that part of it as well. And so I just want to welcome Maya Scott Chung, and Sonia, you had your hand up?
No, I apologize. It said who can see this transcript. And so I raised my hand.
Oh, okay.
There's
Okay.
something, it's typing and it says who can see this transcript. So I raised my hand.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
thank-
cool. It didn't say that to me, but yeah, I just turned the auto transcription on. So
Sorry.
yeah,
Okay.
thanks for letting us know you can see.
Okay.
Okay.
Where is, I don't see anything.
Oh,
I
at the
can see.
bottom of the screen,
It's
there's,
typing.
it's typing. It should be typing out everything that is being said.
I don't
Mhm.
see that.
I can see
Oh.
it. And then it says live transcription, closed captioning has been enabled. Who can see this? So I raised my hand that I can see it.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Does
this-
anybody else?
I'm
Hello?
just wondering, is this a Zoom meeting where you can actually, because I'm on the phone. I didn't know
I'm
that
on-
I can actually get,
I'm on the phone too. I'm on my smartphone.
What?
Uh,
okay, but are you able to see participants?
yeah, I can see everyone. Mhm.
Okay, I guess I called in on the phone and I'm not able to see
Oh, you called in on
anyone.
a house phone? You called in on a house phone?
Yeah, no, I'm on I guess this is a smartphone.
You know what you do?
yeah,
You could push participants and you can, well,
No, it's not. No, it's just showing me like I've called someone. I mean, I don't have the. But that's okay. I'll do it on Thursday. Maybe I can learn how to do it on Thursday. I'll just listen in this time. Thank
Okay.
you.
Oh, okay, Henrietta, I'd be happy to afterwards walk you through it. If you do have an Android or an iPhone, I believe there's that link that you can click on in your email that will allow you to have the visual inside of the Zoom.
Okay, and I just see the YouTube video here. Okay, well then afterwards, yeah, I don't want to take any more time up, so I'll maybe you can show me afterwards. Thank you.
Okay, that would be wonderful. Okay, so now, does anybody have anything else that they wanted to share about real quickly about how the pandemic has affected them?
I would. Unfortunately, the pandemic, I wasn't able to have a proper funeral for my mom. My mom died April 20th of 2020. And at that time, the funeral homes didn't know exactly what to do with the bodies. So my mom was cremated and I wasn't allowed to take her on the plane to take her. Well, it was a lot of red tape. So I couldn't transport her to Alabama.
Oh.
So I felt cheated out of a funeral. I felt cheated.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I brought my mom from Cleveland, where we grew up at, to California because she was really sick. And she survived 6 months in California and she passed here in my home. So her brothers live in Alabama and I couldn't take her back to the South.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, so that's what the pandemic did to us. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. Greetings, June. Great to have you. So Ray, is it okay if we go into the next section?
Yeah.
Which is because of the pandemic and the stress, I thought that it would be good to explore a little bit around meditation and what that looks like. And so here's a really short, fun video about meditation and its wonderful effects on the body. Mind, body, and spirit.
There's a new study coming out about meditation almost every week, touting its benefits. But how does this ancient technique really work? We need to look at a few physiological processes to understand why meditation is so great for us. First, when we meditate, there are changes in our brain wave patterns. Depending on our state, that is, if we are asleep or awake, the brain creates waves based on its activity that can be measured on an EEG. A simple 20-minute meditation session will start to transition the brain waves from beta or alpha to a theta state. Meditation has also been known to slow the rate at which our hearts pump blood and the rate we breathe. These slowed states of physiological functioning are associated with a reduction in stress. In brief, a fast heart rate and quick, shallow breathing causes a cascade of stress response actions in our bodies, like pumping out more stress hormones, like cortisol. Cortisol is linked with heart disease, depression, poor gut health, and more. So, meditation indirectly lowers stress, which makes us healthier. The next thing that happens when we meditate is that we stop running from the subconscious thoughts that are secretly running our lives. As we sit and focus on our breathing or consciously observe the thoughts that arise without judgment, we can mindfully experience our deeply held emotions and beliefs. Often, we're reacting to life instead of acting out of the present moment. Meditation allows a small gap between the stress response, that fight or flight mechanism which causes us to fear every situation and react to it, instead of empowering us with a feeling of strength and calm. When was the last time you reacted to a stressful situation with a peaceful feeling that everything would be okay? Most of us simply run around trying to put out fires or run from them as fast as we can. Meditation reduces our physiological stress so that we can handle mental and emotional stress with more acumen. Athletes train their muscles to perform better under stress. You can think of meditation like training your mind. The next time you get caught in traffic, you run late for an appointment, or someone does something to hurt your feelings, you'll be able to act in the present moment instead of reacting to stored fears and emotions lingering just below the surface. You'll be as strong in your mind as that champion boxer is in his body, only you won't need to fight.
You getting ready to come in here? You going to get to the sink?
I was going to try to eat something.
Regina, you're muted.
Can everyone make sure that their devices are on mute? We're hearing some background conversations, please. Thank you.
Oh, and just a quick reminder for people on the phone, to mute or unmute, you press *6. And to raise hand, it's *9. So if I mute you because there's background noise and then you want to speak, it's *6.
Okay. Okay. So the next thing I would like to do is to practice a little bit of meditation, a little bit of breath work. So I thought it would be awesome to have a background of some nature. So if we all want to just get comfortable, you can be sitting and just kind of shrug your shoulders up to your ears, kind of tight, and just let them drop. Shrug your shoulders back up to your ears and let them drop. Roll your head in one direction, releasing the neck muscles, and then going in the next direction. Now take a deep breath through your nose, mouth closed. Hold it for a second, and then exhale. Take another deep breath. Take in as much air as you can. Hold it for a second, and then slowly exhale through your mouth. You want to inhale through your nose, deep breath. Hold. Exhale through your mouth. Kind of wiggle your body a little bit. Feel that space we're making inside with every breath. So we're going to practice inhaling through our nose for a count of 3, holding it for a count of 3, and exhaling through the mouth for a count of 3. Ready? Let's inhale through the nose. 2, 3. Hold. 2, 3. Exhale through the mouth. Inhale. 2, 3. Hold. 2, 3. Exhale through the mouth. Nose inhale. Hold. Mouth exhale. Nose inhale. Hold. Mouth exhale. Nose inhale. Hold. Mouth exhale. Let your eyelids drop a little bit and continue that breath pattern. Is everybody, how do you feel? You can take yourself off mute. How was that for everyone?
Good.
Was good.
Feel a little bit more relaxed today? Oh,
Peace.
thank you. You brought in a guest.
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful.
A little bit more relaxed, a little bit more grounded.
Yes.
I will share the links to the meditation video and the breath work in the email. Okay, thank you. So next up, we have Raia Small, who is an organizer and educator at Senior Disability Action. She teaches our senior and disability university classes and leads our mental health organizing with the Mad Mob group. So
All right.
Raia,
Thank you so much.
welcome.
Thank you, Regina. Yeah, thank you all for being here, and I'm happy to speak to you a little bit about what I work on at SDA. Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen actually and show you. See. Oh, Regina, would you allow me to share screen? Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to, thank you. All right. So here is the page on SDA's website of MadMob, which is our mental health consumers working group. And this is a group that started about in the fall of 2019, so about a year and a half ago, about 6 months before the pandemic. And we started organizing together because SDA was involved in a campaign against expanded conservatorship of people with mental health disabilities. And conservatorship is a program where the state appoints a guardian to make decisions for someone based on their disability. And sometimes it's a family member, but this was a particular program that was appointing a guardian from the government that had no relationship to the person and took away people's autonomy. So we were organizing against that. And then we decided to form a group of people with mental health disabilities, organizing for better services and for voluntary services in the community and against forced treatment. We're a grassroots group, and we're open to anyone who has a mental health disability or condition or lived experience of mental illness or accessing mental health services, however you want to describe yourself. You're welcome to join. And we support universal access to consumer-directed mental health care. So the kind of services that people want to see and get, that it's up to the individual, that no one should be forced into a certain kind of therapy or medication or hospitalization, but people should have a full range of options and that cost should not be prohibitive. And ideally, it shouldn't cost at all to get healthcare. And we also support housing that's accessible to everyone with any kind of disability, and the importance of housing in terms of mental health and housing stability. And we oppose expanded conservatorship and involuntary treatment and criminalization of people with mental health disabilities. And our meetings are on usually the second and fourth Fridays of the month from around 2 p.m. to 3:30. We've been meeting online on Zoom since the pandemic began. And if you'd be interested in coming to a meeting or joining, I'm going to put my contact information in the chat. And I'm just going to show a picture of one of our actions. This was a rally that we had back before the pandemic began back at the end of January 2020. And it was outside the San Francisco Department of Public Health. And we were asking them to fully fund Mental Health San Francisco, and to make sure that services were accessible in the community. And these are a bunch of our members. This is Joyce, who was leading the chant and doing a great job. This is Ruben up here. There's, I believe, Kevin, Fancher, CW. Yeah, so it was a really fun action. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing. And we're having a public forum coming up next month on May 21st. The forum is going to be in the evening from 5 to 6:30, and we're going to have some speakers who are still being confirmed, but we're hoping to have speakers about the right to voluntary treatment in the community and peer support models. And we're also going to have some breakout rooms and small discussion groups to really engage people and, look to the community to guide what kind of services people want. And yeah, so you're all welcome to attend. Does someone have a question? Oh, Monique, could you repeat your question?
No, I forgot.
Oh, you forgot. Okay, if it comes up again, feel free to ask. Yeah, so I'll put the date and time for the forum in the chat, and if anyone's interested in helping plan it too, you can get in touch with me. And we're still in the planning phase and doing outreach for it. Yeah, any questions?
Can anyone come in and help with the planning? Or do you have to be a member?
Oh, yeah. Well, good question. Yeah, you do have to be a member, but anyone's welcome to join. And if someone would like to come to a meeting and check it out and then see if they want to join, that's also an option. Our next meeting is going to be on May 14th at 2, if anyone wants to come to that. And yeah, also if anyone would just like to talk to me one-on-one and learn more and see if it might be a group they'd want to join, I'm also available for that. And I'm going to put my email is Raia, RAIA @sdaction.org. And I can also put my phone number too, if that's more accessible for people. My phone number is 415-217-9882. Yeah, any other thoughts or questions, or are there any issues that are important to people here related to mental health, like in terms of any sort of treatment that you've accessed or had friends or family try to access in the East Bay or in San Francisco? Anything that was lacking or that you feel like should be changed?
So the group is trying to understand. So you're trying to form this group, and it's actually a support network for people who do mental health, and what can you describe what is it that you do in those meetings that you have them come and do what?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, so it's actually not a support group. It's like a grassroots activist group working on mental health issues. So, in our meetings right now, we're planning for the forum in May. And in past meetings, we've planned actions like the one that we had at Department of Public Health. We've, written letters to the mayor and other public officials about issues that affect mental health services in our community. So yeah, it's like a kind of activist organizing group. Like we also, try to support people in the group, like someone was potentially getting evicted. So we tried to connect him to resources and people who might be able to help him out. Like when people are looking for help in their own personal lives, we try to, share what we know and what we have. But yeah, it's primarily not a support group. But thank you for that question, June. That's a really good question.
Hmm.
So I know that Mad Mob primarily works in San Francisco, but I'm thinking because we are in the East Bay, I'm thinking for me personally, and I don't know if anybody else is thinking this way, even though we're in the East Bay, I still want to participate because I need to get experience with organizing for issues and what that looks like. And that would give me a foundation on how to do that work in the East Bay. And maybe we could make some San Francisco and East Bay connections. What do you think, Raia?
Yeah.
Like for some similar issues that are happening here in the East Bay, and perhaps that would be a great place for me to start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Frozen.
Oh, I'm frozen.
Oh, now you're back.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a really great idea to connect, across the region.
Okay. Okay.
Because a lot of similar issues and the same issues, are affecting people in San Francisco in the East Bay. Yeah, I think that would be really great for us to.
I also wanted to say, I have friends, since I'm originally from the East Coast, I have friends on the East Coast who have had, especially during COVID, situations where they've had literal breakdowns and things like that, where they haven't had depression per se or problems before, but during COVID, problems have come up. So people might not have realized their time in particular. So yeah, I don't know if that's
that's a really important comment. Thank you, Rebecca. Yeah, I think that's really true. Like a lot of people who, maybe had not had any mental health conditions before during the last year plus, a lot of things have come up, and there's been so much grief and loss of routine and loss of connection with people, that I think a lot of people have experienced depression, anxiety, like feeling a lot of different mental health issues coming up. But and even like breakdowns. And thank you for sharing, Rebecca. Any final question before I turn it back to Regina? If anyone wants to talk more to me one-on-one too, feel free to contact me.
What's your number again? Could you please repeat it?
Yeah, my number is 415
Yep.
217-9882. And my email is raia@sdaction.org.
At
sdaction.org.
It's just that the subtitle just
it scrambled it.
Right. Speak, and then after that, when you start, it just erases it off. It just goes by very quickly. And
can you see the chat, June?
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'll put it in the chat.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
I got the phone number.
Okay, perfect.
It's just that the email is just hard to get the.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. And thanks so much, everyone. I hope that some of you can come to our forum, and I'll be sharing the flyer and more information as the planning.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really interested. That sounds like a lot of fun, like a lot of learning. I appreciate you sharing that, Rhea. So now we're going to go into a 5-minute break before our first speaker. And so if you need to get up and stretch, we can do a little bit of movement, or you can also take this time to take a bath, to go use the bathroom, take a bathroom break, to go get a drink of water. So yeah, let's get some movement going on.
Regina, I was wondering if you still want the interpreters here since there are no Spanish speakers.
There aren't, are there?
No.
Would you hang out and ask Rhea when she comes back?
Okay.
I'm here still. Regina?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be fine if Heidi and Florencia go.
Okay.
Because we didn't have any Spanish speakers last time, so chances are no one will come an hour in.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it's fine if you two go. Thank you both so much.
Thank you so much.
Spanish speakers this time.
Thank
and
you.
Yeah.
We hope they come next time.
Yeah, I hope so too. We need to do a better job with the bilingual app. Bye. Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you.
Okay, bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Team, sorry.
Greetings, everyone. Just waiting for everyone to get back. But we have Roy Bettencourt with Bay Area Community Services. He is the Associate Director of Programs, and he is here to speak about mental health services in the East Bay. So we'd like to welcome you, Roy. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you all for having me. So I manage a older adults mental health program or a community mental health program. So the criteria to be on my team is you're 60 years or older and with a severe mental illness. So we work with our older folks who are struggling with stuff like schizophrenia, severe bipolar, schizoaffective disorder. And what we do is we have a big team. We work 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We have a psychiatrist, 2 nurses, a couple social workers, a couple therapists, some just regular care coordinators. And we, as a team, offer wraparound support to our older folks who need it. So what that looks like is us going out into the community, helping people get to the doctors, helping people get medication, helping people get to appointments such as shopping. Maybe we go shopping for someone. We do therapy with people. We offer, people medication. We offer medication support, and we offer housing stabilization support. So we can talk with landlords. We can talk with family. We can try to bridge the gaps that come from people that struggle with mental illness. So like I said, we're a 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-year program, and that means that we can really go in and offer intensive support as it's needed. We help people navigate the hospital system because right now it's not the climate for mental illness is not the same as it is for physical health challenges. And so one of the things that we struggle with is people want to classify people either in a physical health category or in a mental health category. And we all have health issues, whether they're, psychological or physical, that's just a human experience. It's not, a class of people. And so we're really trying to break down the barriers of having it viewed as like we have this group of people who are separate from the rest of us. And so we try to fill the gaps in the system by supporting them in the community so they can, live independently or as independently as possible. In order to make it to my program, you have to get a referral from Alameda Access. And so there are certain criteria, for example, a mental health diagnosis that meets criteria such as, again, as bipolar, schizophrenia, schizoaffective, or PTSD can also meet criteria. And so anybody that has older people in their family struggling with something like that can call Alameda Access and request an assessment and see if they qualify for support services. They also have lower level support services. So my teams focus on the highest needs people. They have teams that support people that are much lower needs. And all that goes through Alameda Access. That's the sort of gatekeeper in Alameda County of, where people go for different services or, diverting people to different services. So a lot of the times we can help people clean their apartments. We can help, like I said, we can bring people food, we can help people cook, we can help people, we had a woman that needed a hospital bed inside her house. So we were able to secure a hospital bed and, get it in there and set up for her so she can stay in her house. We check on people multiple times a week, depending on where they're at. We can check on them every day if we need to. When people do go to the hospital, a lot of our people do have psychiatric needs. And so we go to the hospital when they're there, we check in with them. We make sure that they start planning for discharge and let the people in the hospital know that we're her team, and we have this team-based approach. So we try to coordinate the care so that people aren't just dumped from the hospital or, put back into the community while they're not stable. I'm curious if anyone has any questions for me about any of this.
I do. First of all, welcome and thank you.
Thank you.
Can I give you just like a scenario and maybe you could walk me through it?
Perfect.
Okay, that's awesome. What if there was an older individual in their 70s who was experiencing PTSD and needed some help with counseling and grief services, as well as housing. Housing would be a big part of it, just not having stable housing and being exposed to the elements or different environments where they're unable to really be on their own, to have that peace of mind, and then not knowing who to reach out to. Is that something that you help out with?
We work, so the scenario described sounds like our people. That said, the referrals come to us from the county. So we can't just like outreach to someone and work with them. We have to get the go ahead from the county. So there's that one step in between of Alameda Access, getting, someone, so say for example, you had someone that lived in your neighborhood that fit this description. You could get their name and you could get their name and like date of birth. You could call Alameda Access and say, hey, there's this gentleman or this lady that's on, lives near me and they're struggling with housing stability and some PTSD. And I really would like to get this person support. They're not able to advocate for themselves. And then you could give them the information and take it down. And so then Alameda Access, sometimes they might say, well, we don't know this person. And that's when if someone contacts me, I can go out there and do a quick assessment or send one of my staff out there to do an assessment and say, yeah, this person meets our criteria for our team. And then I can talk to Alameda Access from my side and make sure to close that circle.
Okay.
But there's also a lower level team that does like what we do, but for people that don't need, it's messed up. You say this stuff out loud and it gets sort of messed up. Like, I mean, if I didn't have a place to sleep reliably every night, I would be in a mental health crisis. But they try to separate it out as if, well, are they just homeless or are they having mental health? And it's like, well, that's sort of the same thing, because why don't you give up, any hope of, stable housing and see what that does to your mental health? I can promise you it's not good.
There's so many interlocking and intersecting things, like nothing is a single issue. It's not a single story. And so I'm really appreciating your approach. I see what you're doing with the wraparound, like Alameda Access is, like you said, the gatekeeper, but once they contact them and contact you, then you're able to come in as liaisons and help them navigate
Yes,
all the
exactly.
options that are being presented to them. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, so sometimes, like, for example, I've actually been in a scenario like this, where someone from the community contacted me, and I went out and I met with this woman, and I was like, yeah, this person needs to be connected. And so I actually called Access myself and advocated and pushed that process through from my end. So there are different ways, you know, there are different ways to do it. However, like having that person in a community who identifies someone as needing help is really important, because that's that piece that can really push it forward. Because if we just leave it up to Alameda Access, just because the capacity is typically, that means that person has been waiting for a while. So we can expedite the process if we have community members that are seeing people in need.
Okay. Two things. Would you be able to drop that information in the chat?
Yes, I can.
The contact information for
Yes.
Alameda Access and then for your organization?
Yes.
And does anybody else here have any questions for Roy about how those two agencies work in tandem?
Is there any way you can we get hold of Roy? Does he have a number we can contact him if we want to talk to him?
Yes, yes. For those who are on the phone, the number for Alameda Access, I'll give you both numbers. The number for Alameda Access is 1-800-491.
It's 1-800 first.
Yeah, I got it. 800-91.
491-9099. 800-491-9099.
Now I will put my number in the chat, but I manage 4 programs like this. So I do one for homeless people, for homeless population, one for incarcerated population, and one for the 18 to 24. So I have my time is really soaked up with, I have like 80 staff and we see over 400 people. So, we have, and we're all 7 days a week. So, but that being said, I do, I'm not too big to take phone calls. And I like to, working with the community.
Definitely to direct us to the right, or to direct us to the right people. And thank you so much, Roy. And Roy's number is 510 850 6485.
And it's always easiest to text me first. I can respond much quicker to text. I get a high volume of calls a day. And I'm in a lot of meetings, so I can always respond to text. I like to respond to text in meetings, so.
So you're looking really efficient and really busy.
Exactly.
Thank you for letting us know that you're willing to do a warm handoff. That's really awesome to know that we won't be ignored and that we can come through you.
For sure. And it does take, we do need community support, because oftentimes what happens is some of these vulnerable people, they just get ignored. And so they don't really make contact with us until they've really hit rock bottom and stayed there for a while. So it would be nice to be able to, get them before that happened.
Yes. So I know that BACS does have a housing program.
Mm-hmm.
So is that something that you would access for someone who is housing insecure as well?
Here's where the system gets tricky. So I just have my program is a mental health program. I'm not a housing program. And
Right.
most of these programs, you need a referral. So just because you're in my program, I don't have the ability to refer. You still have to go through Alameda County to get there. Now I can sometimes open a door, but it's not as easy as like, I can get someone a housing subsidy. That I cannot do. So it's very frustrating, especially because like, hey, I know the people that manage the subsidies. Why can't I just go over there and, get my person in that really needs it? That's just not the way it works. The county is the gatekeeper for that. So we, even if they're in my agency, if you're in my program, it's strictly a mental health program.
Okay.
And again, how they've separated homelessness from mental health, I don't understand.
Yeah, that's the barrier that you're talking about. That is challenging to navigate. Thank you for your transparency around that.
And another thing I want to be really transparent about is physical health concerns. Oftentimes as people age, there's also physical health concerns.
Right.
Those, if they have severe physical health concerns, that's going to disqualify them for a lot of mental health services. It becomes this real gap in the system that like, oh, this person is too high needs for us. And then I'll say like, what you're telling me is they're too high needs and you're the highest level of mental health housing in the county. So they have to be homeless. And, so there's a gap in the system. So if we go back to your scenario of this 70-year-old person, if this person also had chronic physical health issues, it might be best to refer them to a physical health, to go that route. Because once they get locked in the mental health system, then it becomes like a way for people to like refuse them, like, oh, sorry, they have mental health needs, or oh, sorry, they have physical health needs. It's really frustrating and challenging.
Yeah, thank you for pointing out those distinctions and really creating awareness around the gaps in the systems and how they all need to start speaking to one another, and how while it is helping a certain amount of people, if there was more inclusion, then it would be able to address a lot more people. And I guess that's the work that we've come here to do.
Totally. We need to be able to treat the whole person and not separate them as, oh, this person's mental health, this person's physical health, this person's homeless. It's like, yeah, no, all that goes in together, because when you're homeless, you don't have proper medical care, you're food insecure, you have, which is all part of mental health and physical health. You're not eating nutritious, balanced food. Like, it's all one thing. And the way that they separate it into different boxes it's really frustrating. And, I see it as my job is to try to break down those boxes as much as possible.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, and your honesty and your enthusiasm. Does anyone else have any questions for Mr. Bettencourt? Thank you.
I can see why they want him to be jack of all trades.
Right. Yeah, you definitely make the information and what you do really accessible.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you coming here today.
Okay, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too.
I appreciate you. Hi there. So we have time for just a little break, and then we're going to go into another presentation. So everybody take some time, maybe do some deep breathing.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Yeah, let me just turn off my Zoom call. Yay, thanks so much for calling. I know I've been a little urgent, but I was kind of confused by what's going on and just wanted to get an understanding.
Regina, can you mute Raia? I realize I'm not a host. I can't mute right now.
Yeah, no, I haven't spoken with you for a while, so yeah.
Okay, so Dr. William Campbell, so the state doctor, Dr. Yushar Ikshui, that's the state doctor. That doctor did not believe that they could evaluate you for your right foot. So we had to get a state doctor, William Campbell, who was supposed to write a report regarding your right foot. Now, William Campbell is a much better state doctor to have on our case.
Yeah.
Dr. Campbell decided to write a report on all the body parts. Now, Dr.
I got
Campbell
confused and thought
obviously
that was like
found the level
this
of
conversation.
Yeah,
I was
there's
wondering at first.
several body parts.
it was little. Gina, can you hear me?
No, I actually wanted to say I haven't gotten the report, so that was one of my requests I got. Telby Compost sent a really, really bad like
difficulties of this.
copy that
Sorry, I had
didn't
such
read. It looked like it was like
difficulties.
fourth or fifth generation. So I actually haven't seen the report yet.
Oh, okay. So they did mail it to you. You just haven't, just wasn't legible.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. So if you have a digital copy of it,
I wonder if you
I
messaged
have never received it. I don't know.
there.
Yeah, I can do it. All right, thanks.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I'm gonna try next. Oh, can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me? I'm gonna try. I think I'm either gonna talk to my dad later today because he's the technical guy, or just try next time to try to log in like 30 minutes earlier because I have not had good luck with my computer or trying to log in on the phone today. So, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to come in late today.
No, I'm sorry you were trying for that long. That's really frustrating.
Yeah, no, it's okay. I kept freezing and freezing.
You downloaded the newest version of Zoom. Does that help? Or
I think so. I just don't know. I think, but my dad's really good with. He lives 3,000 miles away, but he's good with computer stuff. So
yeah.
Maybe I Skype with him. Maybe if I Skype with him and he helps me. Anyway, I should be able to. I don't want to miss things next time. So
yeah.
I wasn't planning for it to take me 25 minutes to log in. Oh my gosh, that was frustrating. So yeah. Here a pack.
I didn't know Annie was joining today.
Well, it was supposed to be Kat, but we had a press conference that went over, so.
Oh, well, Annie's even better.
I sent it the B team, but I know my talking points. Yay. Thank you for having me.
Greetings,
Penny, I don't know if someone.
It's 2:15. We're ready to go into our next presenter. And Annie, I emailed with you, but I haven't met you before. Thank you. Thank you for coming. So good to meet you as well.
Thank you so much for having me, Regina. And it's been really nice emailing with you. Again, sorry, it's not Kat, but I will do my best.
Hey, I don't mind at all. I'm always open to meeting new people and people sharing their perspectives and their experience as well. So welcome. Really appreciate you coming.
Thanks. Great. Should I just jump in?
Yeah, it seems like everyone's back.
Awesome. Well,
So
I'm happy to. Yeah, please.
I'm sorry, I can introduce you, everyone. This is Annie Banks with Anti-Police Terror Project and MH First as well. Mm-hmm. Awesome. And what is your role with the organization?
I'm the director of fundraising with the Anti-Police Terror Project, but we all kind of wear different hats all the time because we're a very small team. So I do a bunch of different things, but predominantly fundraising.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. And my understanding is the format is sort of doing a 10 to 15 minute presentation on what we do and then saving time at the end for questions. Is that right?
Yes, 10 to 15 minute presentation, 5-minute Q&A.
Perfect. Great. And I'm open if people have questions during, that's totally fine with me too. But yeah, so I'll just jump in. I can share a little more about what APTP does, and then several of our programs, which include MH First or Mental Health First. And please just let me know if I should speak slower. I see you have captioning, which is awesome. So I'll try to be mindful to let the captioner keep up. So yeah, again, my name's Annie. I've been part of the Anti-Police Terror Project since about 2015. And just really quickly, sort of what brought me to APTP is I grew up in Canada, and a lot of people there also deal with police terror. It's doled out similarly as in America, where a lot of Black and Indigenous and Brown people in Canada are targeted. And so specifically where I lived, there was a lot of police terror against Indigenous people. But where I lived is a very small town. There are a lot of parts that are very rural. There's parts that are very white. And so for many Indigenous people there, it felt extremely isolating to speak out about it, to the point where most people, it was just sort of treated as like a normal thing that happens. And there just weren't very many avenues for people to take action. And I really saw the power of community organizing when people were able to meet other people who had experienced it, feel seen, and also have advocates in the community stand up and not be the lone voice kind of saying this happened to me. But there often wasn't sort of the mass community there that would have created enough safety for people to be really outspoken. And I thought, man, we really need like a community group that does this and that can take some of the heat so that it's not like individual people, because the cops know where that person lives, they know where their kids go to school. Like, it's just so risky for that person to put themselves out there and try and do a campaign or call for justice themselves. And so I really was looking for that, and we didn't have the numbers. And so when I fast forward to many years future, when I traveled down to the Bay Area, I had family who lived here. And so I'd been here a bit as a kid. And I came back for a political education training with the Catalyst Project. I think Jessica's familiar with their work. And that was actually around the time I met Jessica. And through being here and taking part in that program, we were out in the streets around the time of Michael Brown's murder. And that's where I saw APTP really taking up space in terms of protesting police brutality, but also offering like tangible support to families. And it really struck me like, oh, that's what we really needed up north, like this formation of folks who aren't afraid to really take a stand, but also, have done enough work that they know, okay, this is what the family's going to need. These are common roadblocks that families are going to run into. Here are some successes, so everything from, taking direct action to demand that autopsy results are released, that video footage is released, that, officers are fired or punished in other ways, that families are given, whatever form of, compensation is not a possible word, but, and really justice isn't always either. Their loved one is gone. But, whatever they're calling for, actually having tangible victories that we could point to and say, well, this has worked in the past, let's try that again. Or, how do we build on that? So yeah, that's when I started working with APTP. APTP structure too was really, I found that it was really important in terms of accountability. So our structure is that APTP is led by Black leadership. And that's where all the decision making happens. And then we have a multiracial and intergenerational coordinating committee, which I'm a part of, and several other members as well. And we all are co-leads on committees. And then we have our own, volunteers and stuff who work with us. But that's sort of the flow where Black leadership makes the decisions, the coordinating committee sort of takes action on those decisions. So there's like a very clear line of accountability. We know who makes the decisions in the organization. And I just find it really makes for a lot of, there's flow to the work. There's like a constant stream of, this is how we do things. This is principled behavior. This is politically accountable. And that's critical because a lot of the work that we do is directly with families. The press conference that Kat is just wrapping up or just came from was with the family of Mario Gonzalez. He was murdered just over 8 days ago in Alameda by Alameda Police Department. So working closely with his family looks like amplifying their demands, really figuring out what it is they're calling for, and then trying to take action all the way to support, like, they have a GoFundMe, they have a meal train, making sure people have those really tangible things set up in the days after and the months and the years after. Because that's the whole other thing too. We find that obviously when someone loses someone to police terror, it's not like a year-long struggle, it's the rest of their life. And so we have many families that we still work with many years later. And there are transformative ways that can look to, like, many of our families do a lot of peer support with other families. They may go on to be part of other organizations or take on prominent roles within ABTB. So that's sort of the bigger picture of some of our work. And then the way that we achieve that work is through several different programs. And then the committees in the coordinating committee take on some of that work. So, one example is policy. We have a policy director. We actually have a paid policy director for the first time ever, which is really exciting. And so a lot of his work, his name's James Birch. Full transparency, he's my partner. He is doing state level bills, but also local policy work. He leads the defund committee. So they're really committed to taking the money out of the police department here in Oakland and redistributing it to the things that we know people need. It's wild that Oakland spends 46% of its general fund on police, when we know 24 public schools are, being put on the chopping block, when there aren't community resources in so many areas. Even basic things like fixing roads or garbage pickup, it's just so lacking, not to mention absolutely mind-boggling unhoused realities for folks. Like, it's just unreal that we would spend so much money on policing. And we recently, James got a study done by some very knowledgeable researchers from the New York Times, and they found that OPD spends 4% of its time on violent crime. So really big question marks about what the other 96% of their time is spent on, and the $30 million in overtime we pay them every year. So that's been a huge, that's sort of blown up. James often says that 5 years ago, if he had talked about defunding the police by 50%, which he was, but he was often laughed out of the room. People just thought it was so unrealistic. And so it's been amazing to both feel the groundswell of support around defund, as people are really seeing that means a lot, that it's really important. But it's also brought its own challenges. Today, even at the press conference, Kat was talking about how now defund's being blamed for everything, like spikes in violent crime, when no defunding has even happened. We're not there yet. It's still a process. So he's very active there, and his whole team who does defund work. And then the bills, yes, exactly. And the bills that he's working on include a decertification bill. So California is one of very few states that doesn't have a decertification program like you would for a teacher or a social worker, right? If you are charged with harm to a person, with lying, with other heinous acts, in many fields of employment, you would lose your license. It's not so for police officers in California. They can be convicted of murder and still go back to having a job as an officer. And so they're fighting literally right now. He's on a call, because of course, law enforcement is doing everything they can to make sure this doesn't become a reality, but it's the second year the bill has run. So hopefully that will pass, because we really need to be able to, because we've seen many instances where there are police who've killed people multiple times, and families only learn after their loved one has died that this person killed someone else 2 years ago, it happened very recently with Tyrell Wilson, his case. And the other bill is called the Crisis Act. And so that bill is about creating, basically it's a budget ask to have money for alternative responses to police throughout California. And so I'll sort of end my words here. I realize I'm already, I think, at close to 10 or 15. But so that's related to our program, Mental Health First. And so, I think something that's important to us is to not only be reactive, and a key piece of abolition is, it's not just about tearing things down or defunding things, it's also about creating things in their place. And so Mental Health First is important to us because it's something that came directly out of family members, requests for what they wanted to see, and just the reality that we're seeing more and more, which is there are so many people who are killed in the middle of a mental health crisis. Some of the stats nationwide are something like 50% of police killings are people in the midst of a mental health crisis. And that is just shocking. Obviously, it speaks to the inherent racism in policing, that if I was in the middle of a mental health crisis, I would probably be looked at as someone in crisis. But if it's a Black or brown person in the middle of a crisis, a police officer is more likely to kill that person than to offer help. And so, having worked in shelters for years and having worked in, youth group homes, I've seen how poorly the response goes and how much even the cops don't want to be there. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to work with someone who's in the middle of a mental health crisis. They're not trained for that. They absolutely aren't. I used to do suicide prevention, and we were supposed to give trainings to the police. I never did, but one of our teammates did. And he said he refused to do it after a while because they would close their eyes, lean their heads back, put their feet on their desks. Like it just was, he said they were kind of like purposefully not paying attention. And it just felt so insulting. So we know that police are not good responders to mental health crises. They agitate people further. If someone is in the middle of, feeling already, very stressed, very anxious, then to have someone show up with lights flashing or a badge and a gun, it's only going to make things so much worse. And so Mental Health First comes directly out of that desire to have people who can respond, who are not going to kill anyone. It seems so basic, but it's so needed. I think of Addie Kitchen, whose grandson, Stephen Taylor, was murdered in a Walmart last year, almost 1 year exactly, April 18th, 2020. And it was so sad. He clearly was in the middle of a crisis and he was dead within 40 seconds because he was seen as a threat. And she always says to me, I really think if Mental Health First had been able to respond, he wouldn't have died. We work with a security team who even said, there are so many options. You could have evacuated the Walmart, just let him blow off steam. He clearly was in crisis. Just get everyone out and let him just walk around the store for 20 minutes and then have someone talk to him and just ask him, what do you need, man? Do you need someone to talk to? Do you need housing? Do you need a cup of water? There's just so many ways to de-escalate that don't involve deadly force. And so we started MH First Sacramento in January 2020, and then we started MH First Oakland in August 2020. Both have been running basically only phone for now because of COVID, but have gone so well. We've trained, I think, over 800 volunteers. And, a lot of our volunteers, we really focus on having BIPOC or Black, Indigenous, and people of color volunteers, just to have that insurance that people understand and have a lived experience of racism in America, and can respond accordingly. Also people with lived experience, people who say, yeah, I have mental illness in my family, I have a sibling who's dealt with this, so I'm very experienced in how to talk to someone who's maybe having a really hard time. And we get a lot of bystander calls, which I think is really interesting because we know that, that's often where it starts. Like with Mario Gonzalez, he was in a park having a beer and someone called the police on him and said he looked suspicious. So that's where it starts. And so we're really hopeful that if someone is worried about somebody, they can call us, they can call MH First and we can talk them through other options that don't include the police, especially if it's someone who is, maybe just having a hard time, maybe needs some support. And so what it looks like often is, a call will come in and then a team member will respond. Our team members go through extensive training. And we also always have one of our sort of lead MH First folks on call in case their advice is needed. So Asantua Boykin is a co-founder of both APTB and MH First. She's a registered nurse. She works in the ER at UC Davis Hospital. And she's amazing. And she's taught me so much. She said, one thing that can be hard for family members is if it's your loved one, of course, it's really upsetting if they're in crisis. So someone who deals with a lot of anxiety might be almost catatonic from their anxiety. And she said, but for me as an ER nurse, that's totally normal. I'm used to seeing that. It doesn't stress me out, and so I can walk a family member through, here's some things to try before you call the police, can you dim the lights? Can you ask them if they've taken their medication? Do you have access to their medication? Do you have any Ativan? Do you have, can you give them some water? Other solutions, she sort of does like a triage with them and walks them through to kind of see, how can we get this person talking to you? How can we figure out what they need in this moment? And so far in the almost year and a half of running MH First SAC and I guess almost a year of MH First Oakland, we've never had police involvement. It just hasn't happened because so many of these calls just should never go to police. It's not even really related. Like it might be a young person who's having a bit of a substance use issue, like they're freaking out a little bit and they don't have any housing tonight. So clearly that's more of a medical issue and a housing, like a resource issue. And so we have people who they can support, who they can connect with and get some support around that. And yeah, I feel like I should probably wrap up, huh? There's so much more I could say, but I want to respect your time.
Thank you, Annie. I really appreciate the organization and what you all do. I actually signed up for the training and got trained as a community responder as well. And looking at defunding the police within an abolitionist framework, I'm thinking about all of the things, as you said, that can be created in its place around restorative justice, community grief circles, conflict resolution training, and the work that we can do in our communities around trauma. Trauma healing that I find at the root of what is going on, especially being in the pandemic with all the uncertainty. There's people are experiencing a lot of PTSD around the uncertainty and challenge to access services and things. So yeah, you really brought home a lot of that. And I wanted to ask you, I think I saw in my email a sign on for the moral demand for, I think it was the faith-based councils were submitting a document for people to sign on for the upcoming budget meeting.
Yeah, was that from Sherry Murphy?
I'm not quite sure, perhaps. Okay. Yeah, so what can we do as individuals and organizations to continue to be a part of this movement?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. Definitely. I mean, so much of it is in the minutia, like that's been frustrating for me because it feels like a city council meeting can sneak up or, I have a toddler. I'm not always able to wait on the phone for 3 hours to make public comment. But those meetings really count, especially right now. We just went through a very arduous 6-month task force session, which was amazing in and of itself that we had it. It was called the Reimagining Public Safety Task Force in Oakland. So really the goal of the task force was to defund the police. And we got a lot of our demands through, our recommendations through, and now it's more just about pushing implementation. So we are asking people to, when we have, we do a lot over social media. So when we have call-in days, but then I think that all kind of flows out to the larger piece, so that's very Oakland based, but I think anywhere that we can be pushing to reallocate funding from police to, like you said, Regina, all the things that are life-giving, all the things that matter and keep people safe and keep communities whole and healthy. Any of those efforts are absolutely in line with defund. Yeah, I totally agree. The moral angle on the budget, like how do we put our money where morals are and actually support those things. And then obviously the ongoing struggles for justice, that continue, because as much as we want to create this new world, we sadly are still living in the one where people are losing their loved ones. And so, we put out as many of the asks from families that we can. I know right now Mario Gonzalez's family has a GoFundMe and a meal train that they're asking for support with, but also there's definitely going to be coming demands, around pushing the city of Alameda. So yeah, all of the above. And I see a question from Jessica. The recent lawsuit about Alameda County and mental health. Oh, interesting. We have been involved with some of the work around Santa Rita Jail specifically. We're part of the Decarcerate Alameda County coalition. And so we've been working on some of that. I'm not sure if that's the same. So I will open your article. Yes.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kat spoke last week at a press conference with the National Lawyers Guild, Decarcerate Alameda County. Because we've definitely seen the horrific abuses of Santa Rita over the years, for sure. Oh, thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Annie? It was really powerful. Thank you.
Did you
Yes.
say her name? Hi, Anne. This is I can't help it, but you introduce yourself as Canadian. Welcome.
Thank you.
Eric and I are Canadians.
Oh, where from?
Vancouver.
Oh, I'm from Victoria.
I used to live in Victoria, BC.
Wow, me too.
So you live in Oakland?
Yes.
Okay. Very interesting topic, and how you got involved in it, and definitely sound kind of gripping in many ways. And there are many that are still, heartbreaking. And yes, like we can relate to where you were saying that, when somebody has a mental problem and they are out in the world, they're not going to understand you. You have to understand that. That's the world's way of thinking about things, and they're going to react. That's the first reaction, because you've been trained to react, and they're not there to fix your problem. And it's unfortunate that the ones that are in control should be the one that is really that should really be the one that I think should understand people in general. Not everybody's going to react. And then yes, there have been shootings where it's absolutely wrong, and the killing has been wrong, awfully wrong, because someone who's holding the gun is making the wrong decision. And it's something in mind that I wanted to say that had a similar situation where our daughter, we're caregivers for our daughter, and she's in her 30s right now. And she has schizophrenia and hallucination. And we realized that she went in the age of 16. But here's the deal: we've been fighting for her life every single day. We dare not. We've come to that realization that nobody's going to understand, because we have to have our doors locked, because just do it. Not, she has enough room to walk around in the house and to feel free to do all that she's needing to do. But there's times when she have an outburst, yelling, screaming, and for no reason at all. And I understood what you said. If this happened in public or Walmart, No, they're not going to close the door and say, okay, let's take a 20-minute break. Everybody has to go. No, no. They're going to want that, God forbid, Walmart closes for 20 minutes, get everybody out the door. You'd be losing thousands of dollars. And that's probably what they're thinking about. And so they hire these security guards and they think, okay, that's the first thing you do. You want to take them out. They're yelling and screaming. And we've seen them offhand where my daughter, Brittany, would attend this because she has a dentist appointment in Highland Hospital. She's got to be put to sleep. And so we got to that stage there. But to go to the appointment, it was such a maze. And that, I mean, for schizophrenia, is not a really good thing. And it was really hard for my husband to handle her because she would have an outburst. And then when we got up to that maze and people are passing by and they're rolling their eyes. And then I'm in there and I said, okay, you handle her and I'm going to go do the paperwork. And next thing you know, I'm in that paperwork office and there's 2 security guards come flying in and I go, and all because they had somebody called them about some young girl, which is my daughter, yelling in the hallway. And my husband's trying to, she's not hurting anybody, but just, it's part of the schizophrenia where there is, and it's also to do with hallucination. And she's not hurting anybody. She is not armed. She's with my husband. Yes, and he come flying in and I'm right there. And I'm like, and I heard, and I go, okay, what was it that she, and I, huh? Okay. Do we need to go? What? Okay. All I'm just saying is that it is pretty hard. It's very, very hard to, they come in with the idea that they're going to come and grab her. That's when I stopped them. And I had to explain to them, that's my daughter. You don't have to get all nervous. And let's just take it easy. My husband's dealing with her. And I had to go through that explanation. And you are so right. That's what I'm trying to say. And then I managed to get them out the door.
Wow. Thank you, June. And I'm sorry that you have to go through that. Like, it just makes me think of, how different would the world be if there was space for people to be who they are and it didn't have to put you in fear, that your daughter could be hurt all the time, that there was compassion for people, instead of, it makes me think of so many things like drug use. Why is the response that people, get killed or aren't cared about? If a society is based in compassion, it could be so much different.
We're not taking the time to actually, we're reacting. It's a fast pace and we need to get them out of here. That's basically when those 2 security guys come in and they were running. You could tell they were taking a deep breath and they had been running from someplace up the stairs to come and get my daughter or trying to come and see what the problem is. And when we explained it and my husband did finally come in and I calmed them down, I said, it's going to be okay. She's not harmed. She's not, you don't have to come in like at full force. I'm right here. We're making an appointment and she busted her teeth. So they want to see her. It's a teaching. It's kind of sad that for the listeners, they have to understand that you're the teacher when you have that. Don't be afraid to speak out because you have to be the one to teach those that are watching you. Voice it and don't be afraid because and don't look at that reaction because I was, I'm in that goosebumps all over me, but it's just that the two cops had to learn, and you know, much bigger than me, taller than me, and I'm going to tell it just like it is. And you're not here to handcuff my daughter. I don't know what you're up to, but if somebody calls you, please go away. She's going to be okay. So she's screaming. Walk into the dentist. Everybody's watching. Hey, calm down. It's going to be okay. We're going to get her out of here and we'll be fine. When we get back in the car, we're going to treat her to Wendy's and we'll be, and immediately she's calmed down. Oh, good grief. she's a handful. That's why we don't take her out. You have a child like that. You don't purposely take them to go outside and put them in danger too. You're the parent, you have to navigate. And my husband and I don't have to go shopping. Two people can't go shopping in grocery store. It's not the most important thing. Get the groceries, one of us get the grocery, bring it in, and we're gonna work this 24 hours. That's how it's gonna work till she's done. Don't force them to go out because you're testing them. You don't want to test the waters. You don't want to deliberately put them in danger too. That's it. That's my experience. Sorry, I take it so long. But thank you for what you do.
Thank you, June. Thank you, June. Thank you for giving us a very personal and intimate snapshot of your daily life. I just love the tone in which you are relaying this to us, and I can feel that your heart is open, and I wish that everyone was as grounded and passionate and had those, inherent skills of compassion and de-escalation just like built into their everyday interactions. And I guess that's part of the work that we're all striving to do is I love what you said about don't look at them. What do you think you're doing? No, you're not doing that. This is what's happening here. And I love that beautiful verbal and energetic redirection. Yeah, thank you for showing us what a powerful model that is.
Well, the thing that the wisdom, comes from above, and it is a trial and error, and she's been out there. She's been out there when we've been through this for 14 years, so I would call it well seasoned, and the first 5 was a living hell because we didn't have a house yet. But when we did, we had to do everything to keep her safe, her safety, deliberately. Put the doors locked, lock the doors, padlock. Which doors? We deliberately do that so that she don't go flying out the door.
Yes, thank you so much. Annie, before we are going to shift into our closing, I wanted to know if you had any contact information or an email. We can find out more about APTP and any next steps.
Yeah, absolutely.
For us, any information. Yeah. If you could
Absolutely.
put that in the chat, that would be wonderful.
Definitely.
And June, thank you again for such a really intimate and powerful share. Does anyone else have any questions for Annie before we close out? Thank you, everybody. This was a very, very powerful day. I really appreciate Annie and everyone who came through to speak on mental health advocacy and our rights and services to access in our communities.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such an awesome program. And yeah, I'm so interested in all the other speakers that you've had. And it seems like you're just having such deep and amazing conversations. So yeah, so grateful. We need so much more of this to create the society we really need. So much gratitude to everyone at SDA and for your leadership, Regina, and this group.
Thank
I was
you.
just only be invited. So thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And we are also recording this, so we will make them available on YouTube, or I can send a Zoom link so that people will be able to have the ones, this part of the series that they've attended, and also the ones that they weren't fortunate enough to show up for. But please show up to the rest of the series. It only gets better from here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I should probably head out. I have a meeting starting shortly.
Thank you,
Thank you so
Annie.
much for
Thank you
having
so
me.
much.
Thank you so much,
Bye,
Annie.
everyone. Thank you so much.
Whew, everybody, just take a deep breath. So much deep work and so much powerful information was shared today. How does everybody feel about that?
Very needful, very helpful because
Helpful?
Yeah.
I agree. Does anybody else have another word?
Mhm.
I
I'll just
feel
say,
grateful. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
sorry. I just have tremendous gratitude for the generosity of the presenters, but also you, Regina, and your beautiful skill at appreciating people. That's love, and we all need it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Can you turn it up? Rebecca, one word, one sentence, one phrase.
I said I learned a lot in a short period.
Yeah. Ray, what about you?
She's muted.
Just powerful and living with a brother that has had mental health issues from a traumatic brain injury to a car accident. This was really my primary interest in participating and joining the survivor school, but I really appreciate everybody, and there's always something to learn, something new, and I know I'm just always trying to learn about mental health.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate having you. And Maya, and then, yeah, and then Henrietta, and then Jessica. Hello, Maya. Henrietta, is there a word or a phrase that you took away from the presentations today? And Jessica, is there anything that you'd like to share in the time that you've been here?
Well, I'm sorry for joining late. I think gratitude for this group, I think to have a space to have these conversations, and it really got me thinking about all the things we could do, all the collaborations we could build, the change we could make, the ideas that we can support or create. I feel really inspired.
I do as well. Thank you for speaking to that, Jessica. My brain is just like going round and round right now. I'm really excited. So with everything that was shared today and what's in your own personal arsenal. Does anybody have any old or new mental health strategies that they wanted to share that they are going to be using moving forward? Or something that they're going to look into, something that they're going to research and try to find more about? Raia, would you like to go first?
I'm sure. Let's see. I guess I am gonna find out more about mental health first and how to share the information with people, like their phone number, and just so that people know about it. And yeah, start with that.
Yay.
I would think coping skills and understanding when we come in contact. I was just inspired by James sharing, because it's really difficult and hard if we are not open and have a compassionate heart to deal with persons of some type of mental deficiency. And I just feel that I'm open to really learning more and having more compassion, because it's a real job and it takes a lot of energy for family members and caregivers to take care of the mentally ill. Thank you.
And June?
Yes.
What are one or two of your takeaways that you will be using or looking into more? Any of the information or any new coping strategies or anything like you want to share with us? I found out that I learned so much from you, how to stay grounded and have my tone very calm.
Well, I've just started. I'm not a walker, but I don't have to lose any weight. But there is a place where it's kind of beautiful, and I've just started. I think I need that 1 hour away from the stress to decompress. And I like the way you I like the way that you got us into this exercise. And sometimes I think when you are dealing with mental issues, it is best sometimes to walk away. And with our daughter, we do have a way where she has to go back into her room, and there's absolutely nothing in the room to make her be fearful in any way. We can lock, just temporarily lock her. It's called timeout, not lock her in, but it's because, from being destructive, and it's for her good and to help us to decompress so that we can reorganize our head. And it's taken a long journey, but I like the way that you said, I'm not one that believes in yoga, but I like that breathe in, breathe out. And as I'm going to be practicing that, and sitting there's a lot of benches out there, and I think I'm just going to go for a walk every single day. I try, or every other day, to just simply just take myself out, decompress, and
yes.
I think that, and then you see the whole entire world when you come back again in a whole different aspect, where you can reshape and rethink and reorganize your head. What should I do? I'm not always perfect. I want to admit, not everybody is going to be calm still. when you see somebody having a mental problem like that, your first reaction is to save their lives. You want to save their lives, but you're powerless. Yeah, I'm powerless to save their life. But we are doing the best to allow them and do this caregiving in a way that will keep them calm, stressful, stress. With their stress, the most important thing for me is to learn to
Thank you.
to help myself to decompress. That is the key.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, June. The walking and the decompressing. So now we have Ray and then Maya. Ray, would you like to share with us some of your takeaways, some coping strategies?
Yes, more importantly, to meditate more, and just to hear the meditation today, it really helped me just doing it for such a short time. And right now, just like you mentioned earlier about opening your windows, and I'm hoping to hear all these nice birds out there. And so when I start to feel more anxious, like we all do lately, it's just to maybe meditate a little more than I have been.
Wonderful, wonderful. I'll make sure that I send some links to those that are some of my favorites on YouTube. And thank you for that. And Maya.
Well, one of my strategies, I'm so enjoying and getting so much from these sessions. I've actually been in the bathtub the whole time, and I usually don't. I started during COVID realizing that a lot of times I have a congenital heart condition that makes it hard to breathe and swallow, and being in warm water really, really helps both my physical and my mental health, because not being able to breathe and swallow makes me really exhausted and depressed. So I have been off camera, but I have been in the bathtub for like 3 hours, and huge. It's like where I can't go to the pool because I'm low income and COVID and stuff, and I can't get to hot springs or hot tubs. I'm used to be a massage therapist and used to work in a place that had I used to be a massage therapist in a place that had hot tubs and saunas. So I think I've just really kind of learned to use what I have. I have a bathtub, and I feel grateful for the bathtub. And I do probably 50% of my Zoom calls from the bathtub now. And occasionally I'll pop up and be real that I'm here in the bathtub, but a lot of times I'm off screen and, just trying to show up the best I can with the body I have. Yeah. Oh, and I did just also want to say, I'm going to listen to, I had a lot of calls coming in, but this question that is up for, all of us and so many of us around police violence against Black and Indigenous and people of color and the intersection with disabilities, that we had a meeting between Disability Justice League Bay Area Core and MH First Core with Anti-Police Terror Project last week, and are going to have a private collaborative showing of the film called Where is Hope? The Art of Murder, about police brutality against people with disabilities. So we're going to do an internal, like beginning internally facilitated conversation, but in the future, it might be something really wonderful to do with SDA, East Bay, and a lot of the collaborative organizations that we're working with to just connect this. So
yeah, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that resource. I'm going to look at that already.
Yeah.
Thank you. And lastly, Henrietta, are you still here?
Yes, I'm still here and listening.
Oh, wonderful. So do you have any takeaways, anything new around mental health coping strategies that you're going to be able to use moving forward?
I like what June said is working for her, because I really do like to walk. I've been having some issues with my knee, and that's been kind of interfering, but I'm challenging it anyway. But go someplace pleasant, find myself a bench to kind of just rest and do my breathe in and breathe out. I think that meditation is something that I've kind of run away from. But I listened to this one today and I participated as best I could. And I said, yeah, I'm gonna incorporate more of that in my routine.
Thank you. Wonderful. It was so good to have everyone. We went over 7 minutes, so it was rich. It was very full. I really appreciate everyone's time and their contributions. And I will see you all on Thursday. I'll send you out a reminder and I'll do my best to get those recordings out as well. Thank you everyone for a really beautiful Tuesday.
Okay, and should I call back at a different time so you can show me how to do, walk me through how I can maybe be on the Zoom call?
I have a meeting. Will you be around about 5 o'clock?
Yes, my 5:30. I'm supposed to meet with my granddaughter on, but I have another day. I don't know what your schedule looks like, but I'll be around. I'll be around 5. I'll make sure because it shouldn't take long.
No, let me give you a call.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, Ray. Enjoy the rest of your day, and Maya, and June, and Cora, and Raia.
See you on Thursday.
See you on Thursday, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.